All right, this is Donovan Dreyer here, and we're here with Julia Neiman, and we've got Adam Baca as our special guest today. And Adam is the co-founder and outreach director of A Day Without Hate, an international organization that promotes unity, peace, and respect in schools, universities, and businesses. He's an international educator of high schoolers on social change making, leadership, and social entrepreneurship. He's also the owner of Elevated Health and Fitness, transforming young professionals, entrepreneurs, families, and children to live better quality lives through elevated wellness approaches that benefit the world. Baca recently co-founded Kojo Life, a personal development company, helping people create positive habits in their life to achieve greatness. He loves working with nonprofits and young leaders to increase their impact in their communities and create change. He believes we're all socially responsible to make the world a better place than we found it. So this is Adam, and Adam has done a number of different things throughout the community, throughout the world, really, Adam. So tell us your story, Adam. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. So I guess my story starts really with my senior year in high school. I was attending Stanley Lake High School in Westminster, Colorado. And back in 2007, when Virginia Tech happened, we all heard about that basically all over the country, all over the state, and even across the world. It was like 9/11 where everything just froze for a second. Everyone just reflected on what is happening in the world. I came into English class that day after lunch and with a few buddies, and we walked back in and we're just like, why is everyone so quiet? What's going to happen today in class? And my English teacher, Ben, he basically was just sitting there for a few minutes just in silence, and we all didn't know what to do. And so we waited for instruction, and he just got up and walked across the room, and he stood there and he looked at us and he said, "What's happening in our world?" And that question started something that today, 10 years later, is still alive, based off of what we answered with that. And so our answer was basically, what is happening in the world is that we need stronger leadership. We need a better day. We need a better world. We need better qualities in people. And so he invited us to come after school that day and spend a few hours just talking. He said, I don't know what I want to do. I want to do something now. So if you want to come, I'll be here. And so right then I had made that decision that I had to be there, and I didn't know what it was going to turn into. None of us did, but 12 of us showed up after school and made plans to be there. And we just supported each other. We walked in, and some of us knew each other from elementary school or middle school or high school. And some of us really didn't know each other. We knew who each other were, but we never talked. We hadn't built that friendship yet. And so we started with just, again, what's happening in our world right now? With 32 people that died in one day at a university, because one person decided to come in with a gun and to end the lives of that many people because he was angry. He was mad at the world. And so we started just sharing, how does this make us feel right now with that news going on in the world? How did it make us feel being, seniors getting ready to graduate and go into the real world, right? We all hear about going into the real world, but it's like, what is that? And, it was kind of scary, to be able to leave school and to know that, well, college is next, and that's where it happened. What can we do right now to actually improve our high school before we leave? We had 5 weeks left before we graduated, and this was in April. And so we looked at the calendar and we said, listen, we have 11 days that we can actually pull this off. The only day before all this testing and stuff goes on that we can do something. So we set a date, and we said, what are we going to do? What is that day going to look like? How are we going to improve, the world with our ideas? Because we'd gone around in a circle, and we played a game of what if. And a game of what if is basically what we went around and we said, well, what if we tried this, right? We threw it up against the wall, and we kind of tossed it around and said, well, what if we all wear white, to show each other that for one day we can actually make ourselves be seen, and also unify each other and show each other that, what, I'm here, I'm wearing white, you're wearing white, we're doing it for the right reasons, and I'm doing it for you, and you're doing it for me. And so we had white as kind of our theme. And plus, everyone has a white shirt, so, you know, there's no excuses of not participating in the day. Because, you know, pink and purple and all that, it's kind of hard to do that. And so white was our theme. And then we said, well, what are we going to call it, right? Well, what if we called it A Day Without Hate? You know, very simple. It kind of shows what it actually means on that day, like what the purpose is. And the whole thing was, you know, every single day we always tolerate hate. You know, it's just a thing in our culture that we've just been like, well, it's normal now. You know, we'll get around it. It's not a big thing. It doesn't sting too bad, but it's still there. We wanted to be like, no, let's have one day and, you know, without hate and see what we can actually accomplish. And so that's what we called it. And then we came up with challenges and said, well, what's the day going to actually look like? What is it going to feel like? And so we came up with our ideas of different challenges, where we would have passing period challenges, for example. And we would have all the students basically come together for the passing period and say, the challenge is high five 5 people on the way to your next class. Strangers, friends, teachers, whoever. Just high five them, right? And then another one, we play maybe a song on the radio and say, hug 5 people on your way to the next class. So, you know, people are hugging each other. I mean, you know, through the 5 minutes you're getting 5 hugs or more. And by the time you get to the next class, you feel like you matter. You feel like you were there for a reason and you are engaged. You're ready to learn, you know, and you feel loved. And that gives you a different type of emotional spike in your brain that makes you ready to learn. And then we also had make an amends letter. We had a challenge for that of, you know, writing down, well, you know, I want to say sorry for doing this, you know, 5 years ago, way back in elementary school in 6th grade, you know, I did this. You know, I'm so sorry. I made a comment, made you really, you know, feel really bad in front of everyone or whatever it was. But that was your chance to write a letter to someone and send it to them, you know, and you can do it anonymously if you wanted. But it was your chance to own up to what you did and to wipe it clean, right? And so I sent a few of them, right? I sent a few of those out, made connections with friends that I hadn't been in a good relationship for a few years. We had cleaned that all with just a letter. Right. So we were overcoming those challenges that we didn't want to face very easily on that day. And so that was like the magic behind it, is that we had that ability to overcome those obstacles that we all see, or those they're almost like walls we have to jump over, right? In our culture, we have to be able to drop it down and, you know, drop down the veil and say, listen, we're all the same. We're all in the same boat here. We're all dealing with problems. And for us to understand that everyone's doing that, it was a big challenge, but it was very easy on that day. And so that was kind of what it looked like. We had hundreds of posters as well, all throughout the high school. So we changed the environment of what we were actually walking around in, seeing, feeling, reading, you know, and so we're getting inspired all day long. And it really changes the mindset of, you know, if you read 100 posters with positive messages on it, you're going to change your mindset and you're going to see things positively. You're going to be more empathetic towards people. And that's what, you know, was also the magic behind it, was changing the environment. And we had a little rally that day as well. So we got the kids pumped up and all that stuff too, about being kind and, you know, basically being nice to each other for a day. And yeah, so that was 10 years ago in 2007. And now being, you know, my 10-year reunion is coming up next month. And it's really funny because it's flown by, and, you know, it's like going back, you're gonna be able to see the people that's, you know, we've gone to high school with, but also the time that has gone by with that, we've made with Day Without Hate, we've made huge changes to it. We've grown it to all 50 states. We're in 5 countries right now and soon to grow into about 20 or 30. We've impacted over 1 million people with our programs, and that's from elementary, middle school, high school, college, and now businesses as well. So we're being implemented within the corporate world, if you will, to actually improve culture with, you know, with adults, and showing them that, you know, we need better, stronger, more loving leaders at that level as well. And so they're jumping on board and helping us as well, which is amazing. And the partnerships that we've gotten along the way, you know, it's happened very naturally. And that's kind of what I've been in charge of, making those connections with the right people. and the right organizations. One being local, it's called Peace Jam, and they've been involved with changing millions of students' lives through impacting them with Nobel laureates. So they actually have about 16 now, 16 Nobel laureates on their board of directors, which is
Wow.
more than any other nonprofit in the world. And, you know, the Dalai Lama is on their board, Desmond Tutu, right? So they inspire the kids through that of actually doing these giant slams is what they call it, and showing the kids, you know, you can literally do anything you want. Again, once you have an idea, you know, the Nobel laureates are regular people as well, but they're committed at a different level. And they've gone through adversity, and that's helped them. So they've been amazing. We actually have a few programs with them that we've developed. So we have a compassion and action program that we've developed with their program director over there. We've done some different events with them. And then Kaiser Permanente is another partner, which they came to us and said, hey, how can we help? You know, we saw what you guys are doing. We want to help actually with mental health with students. So how can we actually get involved? And through that partnership, we actually created Schools Without Hate. So that's like the next level that we took about 2 years ago, was actually getting schools to commit. Basically, like this is like their mission statement or their credo of, this is a school that 365 days out of the year, we live by these standards, right? They pledge to be nicer to each other. They pledge to actually take care of each other. It's a whole different level of culture. And, you know, that was started with the Kaiser Permanente partnership. And so that's about 100 schools right now that have pledged that. And then our recent one is Rachel's Challenge. And they're another local one here in Littleton. And they've been around since 1999 with Rachel Scott and the Columbine shooting. Her father, Daryl, started the nonprofit Rachel's Challenge, and they're in every single country you can possibly think of pretty much. They're pretty much the biggest nonprofit for advocating for more peaceful schools. And so we just stepped in that partnership with them this year. And we're looking to actually create a lot bigger of an impact with them, citywide stuff. So it's very exciting because, again, that vision, you know, that I've had, and I'll get into that, but the vision I've had since the beginning is that we will be in cities, we will be in countries, you know, we're going to be impacting millions of people. And this is really only the beginning, because the students that get involved in this, and they really, they commit to being a better person for at least a day. They feel and they taste that they can actually make a difference in the world, and it's not so hard, right? Because, you know, as adults, we throw around like, hey, go change the world, you know, it's easy. And they just don't get it. But once they can actually taste for a day, like, I made a difference in 10 people, 20 people, 50 people. I made their day better by me being a better, more compassionate, you know, empathetic person. It's not so hard. Once you understand that changing the world is really, it's changing yourself. And once you can change yourself and the way you look at the world changes. So, you know, so all these partnerships have shown me that over the past 10 years is that I need to continue to work on me to make this whole thing better. But also, too, it's, you know, that the students are really, they're taking this and they're owning it. And that's the only way it spreads. It's a grassroots movement. You know, we really haven't put any money into marketing at all. You know, we really don't do a lot of advertising, really. And it's just the kids that are taking this and saying, listen, you know, you need to do this at your school, and talking to friends and teachers taking it. And it's incredible. So, yeah.
You know, I'm going to pop in here because, you know, I'm ever the teacher, and there are some amazing lessons in all of these things that you've been saying. There's teachable moments that I want to emphasize here. And starting out is how you all decided, with the guidance of this English teacher, that, you know, this is a horrendous situation, and how can we take this situation and make it better? How can we transform this for ourselves, if for nobody else, if just for ourselves? How can we get through this? And then brainstorming ideas and then implementing the things that you came up with. And I mean, that's amazing that you were able to do that. And then from there, see that you could make an impact with one day of implementing such simple ideas as these challenges were. High five somebody, hug somebody. I mean, how simple is that? And that you were able to do that and have such an enormous impact in that one day that it grew into this international organization.
Yeah.
That to me is amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's something that we never thought that would take root like that when we started it. It wasn't the reason why we did it, of course, was to make it this big. But I think that when you can fill a need, I call it see the need, meet the need. When you can actually meet that need that has not been met for such a long time, and that people are really waiting for and they're hungry for, then once you're able to present that in an easily digestible way of, oh, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3, it's not hard, here's the day, we can do this. That's when things actually take control, is that, it's they were waiting for it, we were waiting for it, and we just decided to create it, and it wasn't there yet.
The other thing that I'm really struck by is that you were in high school. To me, you were a young person, stepping up to do this, and yet 10 years later, you're still doing it. Yeah. So what is motivating you to keep you here? What is keeping you to persevere in moving this forward and to be persistent in making this happen? What is it that speaks to you about this, that you're still here doing this?
Yeah. Well, I always like to look at, motivation as actually the root word is, well, it's motive for action, right? It's like, what is the actual motive? What's the engine behind the action? And I was looking at, that a few years after I'd graduated, I had all these ideas flooding my mind of, well, it could turn into this, and it could turn into this, and this is how it can improve the world. My brain wouldn't turn off. I literally couldn't turn it off. And I went to my old English teacher, Ben, and I said, listen, we need to actually do more with this, because we can't let this die. This needs to grow. Let's help it along a little bit. And, so he gave me that title of, outreach director. And the motive is really, it's the young kids need it. I need it. You need it. Everybody needs it. It's not here in America. It's all across the, basically the world. When you look at the news, we can tell, we need a better world. So that's the whole thing, is that we have to do this now. A few years ago, I thought, well, yeah, I'll definitely try, and we're gonna put as much as we can into it. But now it's like we have to push everywhere. We have to make this happen, and it has to be, as big as it possibly can. And there's no limits, of course, of how big it can actually get, because there's still that need that people want to be accepted and loved, and people want to get along. People don't want to fight. That's the thing, right. is that the cultures we've created within society and schools and corporations and even between countries, people do not want to fight. Tension is not a thing that's desirable. We don't look for that. We don't seek it, but it's a solution that we think we have to employ based on what the world is giving us. We're not looking at the other solutions, right? We believe that, the Darwinism, survival of the fittest. Well, a lot of people point to that, but they don't know is that he mentioned cooperation a lot more in that book than he did competition.
That's right.
He basically was showing us that, no, it's competition when we have to, but that's rare, because if you're cooperating with each other, different species or obviously different people, there is no need for competition. Right? When we elevate each other, there's no reason to fight each other. We're bringing each other up, or we're not fighting each other for resources or, for fame or money or whatever. So. Yeah.
Hey, Adam, that really, I think that really speaks to what brought us all together here. Mm-hmm. When you think about, if people have similar ideas, one idea is, oh, well, you got to have, be like in the Shark Tank and fight your through, get up that ladder. But, we're here together with this collaborative effort, and you talk about loving leaders. The collaboration is the wave of the future. I'm just kind of like vibing, guys, is this a dude thing to be a loving leader? I mean, you really exemplify and embody the loving leader. You spoke at our school, which was amazing. And then we had coffee. And I think that really just fits you to a T, that modern leader is maybe not a thought leader as much as I'd like to think that they're a feeling leader, you know, getting that, you know, vulnerability, you know, having that courage to be vulnerable. So tell me about, you know, guys out there. Could a guy be a loving leader?
Of course, yeah. Well, I appreciate the, you know, the compliment on that. Yeah, I definitely, you know, believe so. You know, and I'm glad that I'm able to show that, yeah, it's possible, and that we have to. You know, it's why wait? You know, why wait for things to change? Why not just change things? So, you know, if we do not actually step up as women and men and become better examples of what the possibilities of the future could be, because the future is tomorrow. It's not, you know, 10 years down the road. It's who are you tomorrow, right? Who are you today? You know, and I definitely think that guys really need to step up in today's world because, you know, so far, you know, I guess if you want to take, you know, men and women and look at it that way, men have been running the world for a while, right? And we haven't been doing a good job of it. So I think that right now we do need to look at what are the characteristics of being a heart-led leader. And that term comes from my mentor, Tommy Spalding, who wrote a book called The Heart-Led Leader. And so I've hopefully exemplified that you know, you can lead through the heart. And like you said, being a feeling or not a thought leader, but a feeling leader, you know, and showing people, listen, like every single day, we're not looking for an end result of, you know, I want a better body or I want, you know, X result on the external. It's always something internal we're looking for. It's always a feeling. That's what it always comes back to, right? The feeling of day without hate was feeling of acceptance. People wanted that. They were waiting to be accepted. And being in school, you walk through the hallways and you feel like you can't be accepted for who you actually are. And so you put these masks on, you wear different clothes, or you hang out with certain people because you want to be accepted. Yet still, you don't feel accepted at the end of the day, right? It's hard. But when you truly come out and you say, listen, this is who I am, I'm okay with it, right? Then other people will accept you for it. So yeah, I mean, men need to step up, women need to step up. We all need to start serving with this instead of our head. You know, and neuroscience is showing that too, is that our heart actually has brain cells on it. We can actually think with our heart. And that's what I find magical about the human body, you know, which I study a lot, is that our brain actually sends more signals, our heart sends more signals to our brain than our brain sends to our body. Okay. So we're actually having more input coming from our heart to our brain than vice versa. Right. So almost like everything we've been taught of like, this controls everything. No, we need to rethink that because we feel it, because this is what's controlling it. So, yeah.
I like that. I like that. Refeel it. That's pretty cool. So, you know, just kind of sticking with that motto of like, it just ain't cool, man. Like dudes can do it for a while and then they don't sustain. It's almost like there's a badge of honor with, you know, you've got maybe two emojis for guys, yucking it up and laughing, or like angry. Those are good to go. You know, but there's something about this, like, yeah, that's nice here now, and talk about this heart piece, and like that's where it's at, and then there's like another story with, well, do I step up and actually be a part of Link? Do I step up and be a part of Rachel's Challenge? Do I step up and be a part of Day Without Hate, or any of these other opportunities that are out there for guys to lead? Student council, you know, there's just like 70-80% young ladies in these kind of leadership opportunities. So what is it that'll make, you know, like make it cooler?
Well, I mean, you're saying like, you know, so we'll step up for this organization or this group, you know, and that's, I think, where it gets confusing, because it's like, well, you know, who am I going to support? Who am I going to stand up for and be there for? I think that we have to stand up for ourselves first. You know, we have to stand up for who, again, who isn't actually inside you? Who are you? Stand up for what you believe in. It doesn't have to be a Day Without Hate specifically or Rachel's Challenge, but stand up for what you believe in. And deep down, when you really look at, hey, what do I care about? You care about yourself more than any other person, right? We're all selfish. We need to stand up for ourselves in a better way, though, not being egotistical and saying, well, let me take, but saying, how can I give more, right? And by giving, you're giving to yourself. So I think that we need to stand up more for ourselves, for our future, you know, for the relationships we have with other people, our health, of course. And then once we hold that one down, that specific element, then we can start to look at who else can we help, right? What other organization can I be part of, right? And how can we tie those together? So if I stand up inside myself and say, hey, I want to stand up for the person that I wanted to support when I was in elementary, right? And I was being picked on, right? And now Day Without Hate was born because I want to help other people feel accepted and wanted, and that turned into students. Well, shoot, okay, let me get involved in students, right? So that's kind of where I stand is, what is your story? And standing up for what you believe specifically, and then looking for where can I get involved? Who is my niche, or who is my audience that really wants to listen to me? Who would I have that connection with? And start there. And we had that connection with obviously our school. We had 12 kids that we were able to influence the entire school in 11 days. But it's because, again, we all had that influence over, we believe it, and then they started to believe it as well. So.
Yeah, what strikes me is the importance of what you just said. It's not only important, but it's timely, because this is happening in the universe. It's like this whole idea of competition really came in with the Industrial Revolution, at least in America it did, right? So it was like, okay, well, I'm going to start this business, and I'm going to start this business, and I'm going to make more money than you. And, it came in with people like the Rockefellers and Pierpont Morgan and all of these people. And so that's coming to an end now, though. We're no longer in that kind of energy and environment. Collaboration is the new competition. Mm-hmm. We need to help each other. We need to lift each other up. We need to help each other become successful. Even if we have different businesses, but they're similar, the more we help each other, there's enough to go around. That's the thing about the time we live in. There's enough to go around. And so if we help each other, we get there faster. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? We get there faster. And it's just what's happening in the world. There's this whole new level of consciousness that's rising. And the thing that's impressive about young people these days is that they get it faster. Mm-hmm. Those of us that are a little older have all of this programming and this, constant preaching. It's about competition, it's one for one, be for yourself or no one else will be. And that's just a crazy message. So I really love what you're saying. And that is really true. There's a whole science built now around math heart. Mm-hmm. Or heart math, it's and that is, heart is the most important organ in the body, and it does dictate what the other body does. If your heart's not clear, if your heart's sick, if you're depressed or stressed, your heart is the first thing that starts giving you trouble, and then that affects the brain, and then you just slide into depression. So you're talking about some really advanced ideas that I think are really, really important for people to know.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. And you said consciousness rising too. And I just thought of actually, again, consciousness, where it actually is that? Is it in our heart? And is it literally coming up? Right? Because again, we always think, well, consciousness is here, right? But we've just been told that, and we believe that.
That's right.
But now consciousness actually is rising out of our heart and telling our brain.
That's right.
That's
right. Yeah. Because the brain is just a computer. Mm-hmm. The brain doesn't feel, the brain doesn't dictate what you feel. The heart does.
Yeah,
and the heart, like you said, the heart sends those messages to the brain, and then the brain just distributes the message in electrical energy to the rest of the body, but it generates with the heart.
Yeah, it's an antenna. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really glad to hear you say that.
Thank you. Yeah. That's
so Adam, tell me a little bit more about seeing the need, meeting the need. And I want to tie it back to, we're really on this roll here with the heart and coming from your heart. I love this concept of the loving leader. And if you look at, the resistance to asking for help, if you look inside and you're saying the first person you need to get in touch with and really, feel belief in is yourself. I find a lot of teenagers don't have that belief, but then when they really, really need a lot of help, they still aren't meeting that need. They see it, but they find some other outlet that's not healthy. So tell me about when you see that need right within yourself, how do you meet that need?
Well, of course, it depends on the need, right? So I like to actually look at things where it's, what's urgent and what's important type of thing of trying to sit with yourself and feel, okay, well, what is it that I'm trying to suppress or push down? Right? Because often the things that we're afraid of are the things we have to do. right? So sitting with that, meditating, if you want to call it that, or stillness, oftentimes those things will be the first things that pop back up, right? It's like a little bobber, pop back up and slap you in the face and say, hey, Adam, look at this, right? Today, this is what you did, where you could have done better. You know it. You need to change that, right? And I look at that and it's like, oh, I want to push it back down. No, I don't want to look at that, right? Let me go ahead and hide it, okay? Those are the things that I think that once we're able to basically not push them back down and be okay with things popping up to the surface, we can kind of look at them and see, well, what are they? Are they so big and scary? And you write them down and say, hey, what's the worst thing? What's the worst thing that can happen?
That's right.
Right, from this situation, of this fear that I have. So I guess, to answer your question of actually meeting the needs that we have, it depends entirely. But we could say like health, for example, of, if we're feeling that we, I could do better with my health, and that keeps popping up. Well, then, okay, so what would be something that would cause you to actually respond to your health in a manner that would suppress or basically quiet that little voice of saying, hey, I need to take care of myself again, right? And it's progress. We all have to make progress, but it's tied in with a plan of what can I do right now? Is it a 5-minute walk I can go on right now and I'd feel better immediately? Or is it going to the gym and spending an hour on the treadmill, or is it looking at a whole food diet, right? So it's looking at, well, what do I know right now? What can I actually do immediately? And then also, what are the gaps I need to fill in along the way? Because I know that just going to the gym for an hour isn't going to change my life, but what knowledge do I need to impart right now to actually get to where I ultimately want to be? So it's a process, and going back to, again, what is it actually that we need to change? Looking at it, being acceptable of that problem, and then start looking for those solutions now immediately, and then also tying in with what do I have to learn to actually make a real fix? So.
And you know what, that ties into mindset. It's all a mindset, looking at what do I need to change and what can I do right now. And that's really important to clean up your life, learn what different areas of your life are, where are you, accept where you are, honestly being really honest with yourself, because you can't make changes unless you're really honest with what needs to be changed, right? So to look at that and then say, okay, I can do this now. When you do that, if you think in terms of energy, you make a small change, but it increases your energy level. Right. And then when you let go of negative things, you have more energy, more positive energy to move into the future with. You become successful way faster because you're not dealing with all these old energies that are holding you back.
Yeah, and I actually call that detoxifying, right? I mean, we look at that with nutrition.
Exactly.
But it's not only nutritionally and in fitness, it's you can detoxify emotions, just like you're saying. And that's ultimately, it's like, before we can actually build something great, sometimes and oftentimes we have to take away what's holding us back before we do. So it's reducing before we actually build. So again, looking at, hey, what's popping up here? What can I start to take away? What do I need to overcome and say goodbye to, right? So sometimes it's a friend, or sometimes it's somebody very close to you. It could be a person. It could be an environment or a situation you're in. It could be a lot of things. But looking at, well, what are the things I can cut out, that just cutting those things out and not doing them anymore would improve the person that I am, and improve the health of who I am, and my mentality and my mindset. And then you can only build from there, because it's momentum now. So. Exactly.
And I want to add something where you were talking about relationships, and some of us have toxic relationships in our lives. If it's a friend or somebody you're not related to, that's easy enough to let go of. But if it's a relative, say a parent or a sibling, that's a little more complicated. And I have found in my own life that the best way to deal with those kinds of toxic relationships is to just forgive that person. Forgive them for being a toxic element in your life. And the more you can, in reality, forgive them and really feel that forgiveness in your heart, the more they change, because you can't change anybody else. You can only change yourself or your reaction to somebody else or something else. And the more you do that, the more the thing that's toxic changes.
Yeah. Well, and for sure, you can only change yourself directly, but I do believe you can indirectly influence people to make
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And that's again going back to Day Without Hate, and a lot of things I've done. I want to learn how to influence people, because Day Without Hate wouldn't exist today if we didn't have that influence over the entire school, right? 12 students and a teacher. So we didn't change them, but we influenced them in a certain way that said, hey, I'm going to change first. Watch me. Do you want this as well? You can come in and actually do the same thing. They saw, hey, how excited we were, how pumped we were, how we felt about it.
Yeah.
Again, the heart, we're able to actually feel each other through our heart, resonating with other people. Yep. And so that's the magic, I think, is again, the energy that we get from other people. We can change them. Yeah. It's not directly, but it is indirectly, and it is lasting. So
so I embrace it as a good thing.
That's a compliment. Yeah, this is good.
All right. So yeah, I'd like to make a point about this detoxifying, when you have toxic environments. That's definitely something I've seen within work, school, homes, families, throughout my career as a school counselor. I've seen it just every which way you can imagine. So yeah, I like this idea of you got to stop that first. And then you were starting to talk about how you aren't just responsible for yourself. And what I like to call that is contagious ease. So we can spread stuff in this world. And, we got an environment that I don't know if karma goes around and comes around. If it's like our environment, you just put it in and it gets either toxic or you're reducing that toxic sense. So I just really liked that point that you're making, that you can impact others. I call that contagious ease. We got these viral things that go on out there. And I just really like to see us not have disease and toxicity going viral in this world. But yeah, that was my thought. What do you guys think of this idea of contagious ease?
Well, I call it, I just call it leadership, honestly. Like I was telling your students at your school, it's like every single person in this room is a leader, right? And when people look at that, they're like, well, shoot, he's telling me I'm a leader. Is it okay? Good luck.
All right. So tell us a little bit about how your actions spin into affecting other people out there. That's that's a concept that maybe we've lost our way with that. A lot of people aren't willing to step up. So talk to us a little bit about that, Adam.
Okay. Well, I think it's obviously very, very important and urgent right now in today's world. It's a little different than it even was a couple years ago. And I think that a lot of people kind of wait around for the governments and for the leaders that basically kind of manipulate things in our society, in our world. We wait for them to actually make the changes that we want. And I think that's the wrong decision to make, because we as young people, or we as adults, or, we as basically people of America and people of the world, we have the power. The leaders follow our steps, right? So whatever way we move, they follow. And that's what I don't think a lot of people understand, is that we are actually leading the world, but we're leading it in a scarcity type of mindset. And so we have a very scary type of world. So I think that, again, stepping up as a man and a woman and young people, that we have to start to make those actionable steps of, what do I want? What am I waiting for, right? What am I calling the President of the United States to do? I can start to do today, right? And in last September, 2 years ago, 2015, I got invited to go to the United Nations for it's called the High Forum for Culture and Peace. And so basically, I was invited to come and observe what was happening with the 30-year plan, or what they call the Sustainable Development Goals, right? And so this is something that kicked off in 2015, and most people have no idea what this is, but in short, it is a 15-year plan to get the world back on track. And every single country in the world, 196 countries, signed on this September 25th, 2015, saying that they're committed to doing these 17 goals that they've picked. And so as the conference kind of advanced, they said, listen, the only way that all this stuff is going to happen is if we actually empower young people and women to do this, because it's never going to happen from the top down. It's never going to happen. We've been waiting 70 years. And now the 70th anniversary of the UN, we are telling the people of the world that we have to actually step up, right? Again, the leaders are going to follow you. So if we can empower young people to do this, they're the largest generation and most impactful, most influential generation. If we can actually influence them and guide them to make those right decisions and guide people in the right way, we can actually come out of this whole mess that we see ourselves in. But it's going to come from the bottom up. And that's what's exciting, is that all three of us are in this movement. The people that are watching this are in this movement, and we actually have the power. We don't have to wait. So, so the influence is with us. It's not with the leaders. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's real grassroots.
Yeah, no, it is. And
That's
that's the only way that changes have ever been made. If you look at it, right? The lasting changes, the ones that get stuck and the ones that crumble are the ones that are told to us that we have to do it from the leaders. We don't want to do that. We want to do what we feel is great. And that's what we have to start to do now. And we have 13 years on that plan. So I always point people over to, Google the Sustainable Development Goals to look at them. Look at the 17 things, that's where I start kids with. What's something on the 17 goals that you are passionate, that your heart tells you, hey, that's important to you. Once you see that, you're going to know this one and this one, right? And then you can start to take actionable steps. There's a lot of information on how you can do this. But if you're 9 years old, if you're 20, if you're 25, you can make a difference, and it can happen right now.
You can. And what's really important is that, the people at the grassroots, we're the ones living in these situations and feeling the pain from these situations, which is why we're the ones that need to make the changes.
Of course.
Because it affects our lives. And so we need to be motivated to say, whoa, wait a minute, this isn't working for us. We don't want it anymore.
Well, and also too, we are part of the problem as well, right? We need to stop putting the problem and the responsibility on the leaders and saying, listen, you're the problem. No, we're all the problem. We're creating this stuff too.
Oh, that's right.
Just by talking about negativity, you actually create more of it, right?
Yep.
So it's like wherever your attention goes, energy flows. And that's the whole concept of what do you want in the world, right? If you want a better world, you have to start thinking and talking in more of a positive way of what do you want? Don't talk about what you don't want, because that's going to draw more of that to your life and more of it to the people around you, because it's collective. You're influencing people to talk about the problems more. Let's talk about solutions. Let's talk about how we can actually do this. And again, the cooperation, not the competition. How can I help you, right? Focus on that. And then other people will come in and say, hey, how can I help you now, right? You helped change my life. What can I do for you? Then it starts to grow and we start to influence. And that's what leadership is. How do you influence people?
How did you get to be so wise at such a young age?
Good question.
I have to say I'm very impressed with you, Adam.
Me too, Adam. And I really like that you've given kids out there a solution. Pick some from one of those 17 things.
Yeah.
When it comes to cooperation, let's spin into how people can actually get connected with you and the things that you're doing. Tell us where you'd like to send them, how you'd like to connect with them, and just finish off with any parting thoughts that you'd like to share with people that are ready to step up, as you put it.
Yeah. So the way you can contact me or my organizations, the main one, again, Day Without Hate. You just go to daywithouthate.org. We have Facebook, which is pretty much active or more active than Twitter. We also have a Twitter though, Instagram. But I also have my Elevated Health and Fitness page. So, anything with mindset or health and fitness related information, I coach people around the world for that. So that's elevatedhealthandfitness.com or, Facebook. And then Kojo Life, and that's just kojolife.com. So, any of those places. And then if you want to email me, it's simple. There's adam@elevatedhealthandfitness.com. You can reach me there and just ask me any questions. I would love to help anybody has any questions about, hey, I have an idea, or I want to do something in the world. What do I do? I want to make this change with myself. I've been frustrated with this part of myself, or I'm frustrated with this around the world. Like, what can I do today? I would love to have conversations like that. So, please reach out to me.
That's great. Thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing all of this wisdom. You really are a very wise person. and continued success with what you're doing. I can't imagine that it won't continue to grow and thrive and really influence more people in the world.
It's going to be a lot bigger. Yeah. Just wait and watch.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I can see that coming.
Yeah. So
Love
yeah,
your
Yeah.
attitude.
it's
Great
always Day Without Hate is always too. It's always the last Friday in April every year. So that's that's when we celebrate it internationally. So again, wear white on that day at least, but spread it around as much as you can. And I can help with you if you guys actually want to do that. So.
Yeah, and I liked your Facebook page today, and I'm really happy to support whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, well, likewise, let me know.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Adam.
Thank you, Donovan, man. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good night.
Out of my career as a clinical social worker, working with teenagers in foster care. So that's how I got to where I am developing this program, because I saw it work with my clients. When I helped them find something that they love to do and showed them they could make money at it, it changed everything for them. They went off of food stamps, they went off of Medi-Cal, they started paying their own bills. I mean, some of them, their prognosis was death or jail within a year.
Mm-hmm.
And showing them how they could take responsibility for their own life and make an income, changed their whole lives. So this is what I need to do.
That's amazing. That's really, really amazing to learn about you too, because obviously there's a lot more people to serve and help. There's so much we can all do, but there's only so much we can do too.
And I see it as a ripple effect, right? Because I was, sharing this with Donovan recently. To me, the ripple effect is you put a kid in business, he creates a little business, hires his family member or a friend or something like that. Then these people have money to spend. They go out in the community, they spend money. The businesses make money. Then they have money to spend at the next business, and they stay in business longer. It picks up the whole community. That picks up the bigger city. Then it helps the state, and it just keeps going, like creating this ripple around the globe.
Well, and basically, have you guys ever read The Soul of Money?
Yes.
Yeah. So she talks about the economy is based on the ecology, and the ecology is us. We basically run the ecology and the economy.
That's right.
But yeah, that's what I find interesting. Again, it's like the ripple effect that we all have of whatever I do and whatever I spend my dollar on matters way more than who I voted for. Way more.
That's right. Yes,
right?
It does.
It's like the clothes that I wear and the products I use and all that stuff, or who I'm buying it from and what they believe. That matters.
That's right. It matters a lot. Yes.
Yeah. So it's becoming more aware of who is it behind this product or this company? Who am I buying from?
That's
and
right.
What are they all about? So it's so important that young people can actually take that into action of I can make a difference, because they want that purpose. And then they'll create products behind a purpose, and that's where we can get hopefully ourselves out of this giant mess we're in.
Yep.
So.
Oh, there it is.
There's Julia.
Yeah. Monetize your passion. Cool.
Oh yeah, that's a logo for the Academy. That's the passion tree. Actually, you can't really see it because it's so little, but it's got different professions in it. Like it's got a basketball player and a dancer and an artist and a chef and computer person, and the tree was actually drawn for me by an animator from Disney.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Was it a friend then?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Isn't that cool? I love it. Yeah.
You can see a little person in there too. Okay.
So here's a dancer, and here's an artist, and a skateboarder, and basketball, and a drummer. A band. That's a band. And here's the chef.
Yeah, and the hearts that are weaved in there too.
Isn't that cool? I just love it. I love it, love it, love it.
Is there? Yeah, there's money signs. Okay, I was gonna say monetize your. There's monies everywhere.
Oh yeah, there's dollar signs in there. We were gonna do some of them green, but it was too much. It was overpowering, so we just went with the red hearts.
Oh, okay. Well, I love
it. Because passion. That's the whole thing. Is like do what you love.
Right.
And even if you just have a job with some company, make sure it's something you love doing.
Yeah.
Because that's what keeps you going every day.
Yeah, something that gives you good energy and you can commit to, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like I got started because my first client that I did this with had so many mental health issues, bipolar, depression. He could get a job, but he couldn't keep it. And his dream, I sat him down one day after he said he quit a job, but I think he got fired. And he came home and I said, well, what is your dream for yourself? If you had no obstacles and money was no issue, what would you do? He said, oh, I'd be a professional skateboarder.
Huh.
But he had no skills, and plus he was high all the time. He was addicted to drugs, and he had some real issues. So instead of saying, well, that's never going to happen, what else can you do? I said, well, do you have any other skills that you might be able to use that are related to skateboarding while you're honing your skills? And he said, I can draw. And I said, well, what about if you did something like, could you do customized skateboards like they do for surfboards? He said, I could do that. He came back the next day with 12 designs.
Wow.
And he said, that's how excited he was about this idea. And he goes, well, who do I sell them to? I said, well, who manufactured your skateboard? So we called the manufacturer and he said, oh, send the designs over. I'll have a look. The next day, he bought 4 designs.
What?
Like overnight. So like within 48 hours, this kid had a business that he was making money in. It was amazing. I went, holy moly, we're onto something here.
You're like, yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, he was drawing every night. He had all these designs. And 2 weeks later, he said, if I had some silk screening equipment, just small stuff, I could make some samples and maybe sell it to the sporting goods store. Went, okay. So his county social worker and I got together. We got him the equipment he needed. And then 2 weeks later, he had stuff hanging in the sporting goods store on T-shirts. And then he did backpacks and all kinds of things.
What's this company called?
I have no clue what he calls it. He doesn't advertise. He's not online because he can't handle all that. He just sells locally, but he's making enough money where his business doesn't stop on the days that he can't work. And he's 32 years old now, and he's still doing this. But he's not. What's that?
How old was he when he started that?
18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's been doing it all this time, and he just does local things. He'll call the manufacturer himself and send the designs over. He doesn't have a internet page or anything like that. He just, but he's making enough money to survive. He has a car, he has an apartment, he eats well, he dresses well. And he's happy. And he's happy.
Yeah. And it makes you happy too.
It makes me happy. And I've lost track of him. I actually had somebody who saw him recently who gave me this update on him. And I tried to get them to ask him if he would do a testimonial or come talk about it. And he's like, oh, no. He didn't want anybody to know who he is.
Oh.
Because he has all these other issues. He's like, no, I don't. That's what happens when you grow up in foster care. They try to hide you. They make you feel ashamed of it. And, so it's a big nut to crack. So I didn't want to pressure him.
Right, yeah. That's amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thanks. That was the first time that I ever thought to do that. And I was like, whoa, okay. So I've been doing that ever since with kids. And it's been amazing.
Wow. So cool.
Yeah.
The quality of the questions, right? It's like,
exactly. That was the other thing that you illustrated that I didn't touch on, and I wanted to, and it got by me somehow. But it's questions. Like you ask the questions. What could we do? Right, what could we do now? It's asking the right questions bring you to where you need to be.
I hit the record button again.
You did? Oh, awesome. Okay.
You got on a roll, Julia. So here's the story that she tells, Adam. It's a pretty powerful story to say, like 2 days later, a person goes from an idea to selling something. So, you did a beautiful job, Julia. So
thanks. Yeah. And that was in the time.
Questions if Adam's not going to run out the door on us.
that was the time before you could even scan things and email them. So we had to fax the designs over to the manufacturer, and so he was just looking at faxes. And bought 4 of the designs off the fax. It was awesome.
Yeah. So I'm sure that he's totally in a different space mentally, obviously, since 18 years later.
Yeah,
Or
well,
12
he
years.
still has issues. He's still bipolar, and he still gets really depressed and has days he can't get out of bed, and he still does drugs, but he's alive and he's taking care of himself, and that built his self-confidence, and
And he has a purpose. Yeah.
he has a purpose in life. Yeah.
Yeah. Donovan and I have talked about that too, of giving kids purpose, you know, and that's something I believe in totally, is that, yeah, you know, I needed a purpose, you know, for sure. I found it, or it's found me, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that a lot of the issues that we see within schools, you know, and kids, you know, depression, anxiety, you know, all those things, that maybe they can be remedied by, you know, a purpose. You know, if I had a purpose of waking up, you know, who am I going to help today? You know, what is that thing, that tool, or that's, you know, that skill that I can really deploy and help other people with? You know, I think that it would help a lot of kids out, but the school system doesn't set you up with a purpose. It tells you, hey,
No.
this is your agenda today. Here's your classes, but there's nothing in there as far as a purpose that's weaved in there.
You know, what's interesting, when you speak to somebody in my age group, talk to a baby boomer, we went to school in the 50s and the 60s. School was different. Now, the purpose of school is to get you to fall in line. It's to get you to follow authority. They don't teach you critical thinking skills. They don't teach you life skills. They don't teach you how to be an independent mind.
Right. A lot of them don't. Absolutely.
Right. And so people in my age group, we look at that and go, you know, we got to do something about this, because thinking, critical skills is a lost art. And we have to bring that back somehow, right? And that's in our program. That's in the Monetize Your Passion program. We teach kids how to think.
Yeah, well, reflective and relational skills, right? I think maybe
Exactly.
those are the critical skills we're looking at, right? It's like, how can we reflect on, you know, how can I improve? You know, what have I messed up? How can I actually, you know, do this whole thing that we call life better, reflecting on that.
Right.
And then how can I get along with people better, right?
That's right. And when you find your purpose, and if it's something that resonates you and you have passion for that purpose, you got it made. You can accomplish anything.
Yeah, you just got to get the things lined up and have the belief system. Yeah, that's the huge thing behind it. Yeah.
That's exactly right. I agree. Well, this has been an amazing end to a day. I gotta say, I've really enjoyed speaking with you.
Likewise, I've had fun. Thank you.
All right,
Good
Adam.
work bringing him in, Donovan.
We'll wrap up for real now and let you tonight. But man, we really we're super appreciative of you sharing your wisdom, sharing your stories. You know, learn a little bit more about what we're up to as well. So yeah, you really invested a lot in us tonight. So I'm just so grateful for you to be here and hang with us and collaborate and plot and scheme to how we're going to do things differently.
Yeah, well, yeah. Thank you again for inviting me. I feel honored to be able to do this and to know both of you now. So, Julie, it's been a pleasure.
Donovan, it has been. Yes.
Yeah, hang out.
Thank you so much.